What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Yugioh Millennium Duels Best Deck series, and today we are going to be going over a pretty highly requested deck, Lightsworn deck. Now before we get started, I would like to say that this Lightsworn deck is kind of like a base of sorts for any tweaks that you guys would add to change it to your own style. We're only running 40 cards in this Lightsworn deck. Usually you run a little bit more because of all the discarding and milling that you do. But actually this deck is fast enough that you can usually win before you're in any danger of decking out. But most of the time what you're going to do is you're going to look for, as with any Lightsworn deck really, you're going to try and fill up your graveyard with different Lightsworn named monsters so that you can summon your Judgment Dragons, and then you're going to be trying to finish the duel that way. And we're going to get there. You'll see later. First off, he summons his most powerful monster, Beaskull Dragon. Obviously, I pick Yugioh just because you know, his monsters are fairly straightforward. And keep in mind that when you're using this deck for people online, you're gonna run into different situations. Some may be easier, some may be harder. So just bear that in mind. But here we go. We're picking up our first Judgment Dragon right here. And the reason why I didn't put Ryko down first turn is because I wanted to bait out him summoning his most powerful monster so that Ryko could I could destroy it rather than him summoning some crappy monster and me being forced to use Ryko's effect on that. But also, effect with Ryko, we get to put more monsters into our graveyard, which is always good for that Judgment Dragon. The faster that you can mill through your deck on the first turns, the easier it's going to be for you to summon that Judgment Dragon quicker. We're going to run into that crappy frickin' super high defense card that he has, but that's not such a big deal because a lot of the times with this deck there's quite a few monsters that go over 2,000 attack points, such as what you see here right now, Wolf. And now I'm looking in my graveyard because I have a play that I can make, and I need to make sure that I have 3 different named Lightsworn monsters because I'm about to put another one in my graveyard, and this is a really cool play that you can do. Monster Reincarnation discards 1 card from your hand. I'm going to get rid of Wolf, Lightsworn, and I'm going to summon, I'm going to get, a Judgment Dragon from my graveyard. So now I have 2 in my hand, and because there's no limit to how many you can summon during a turn, I get both of them out on the field in the same turn. And this is like, what, my 3rd turn? Turn 7 overall in the duel. So this is pretty quick, as you guys can see. Now, because we already had a monster on the field that has pretty decent attack points, 1700, I was a little bit reluctant to use the Judgment Dragon's effect. We don't really need to do that so much. We're in control in this duel. And that's something that the Lightsworn really emphasizes more than other decks. You gotta be in control. You gotta take the duel by the reins. It is, you know, you're setting the tempo. And if you don't set the tempo with a Lightsworn deck, you're probably gonna end up falling behind a lot. This deck has got to be in control. It's got to be moving the duel at its own pace, or else you're just gonna get left behind and none of your plays are going to connect. Here we go, we milled through the deck and we picked up the second Wolf. There's only 2 Wolves in the deck, so that is going to be the last one. But as you can see, this is pretty much over. We have 5 pretty powerful monsters on the field. Something that the Lightsworn deck really excels at is swarming the field consistently. It's really hard to mess up a Lightsworn deck when you have, you know, most of the time you can structure the deck in such a way that you'll find it pretty hard to mess up plays, right? The deck kind of just works for you a lot of the time with the milling and whatnot, and you just gotta, you know, press A when the Judgment Dragon comes up and summon him. It's pretty simple like that. But we're gonna go in the recipe portion of the deck video now. 2 card troopers. There's a limit on card troopers, as you can see by the little 2 in the red circle. That means you can only have 2 of them in the deck, and the Chaos Sorcerer obviously coming up next, you can only have 1 of them in the deck. Card Trooper, he allows you to put a certain amount of cards in the graveyard, so he's good for milling, and he also gets 500 attack for each card put there that way. Chaos Sorcerer, you could also use the, I think it's like Black Luster Soldier or something. Envoy at the beginning, he works the same as Chaos Sorcerer. You banish 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard, and then you special summon him onto the field. You could use either one. I opted for Chaos Sorcerer for good removal. Effect Veiler is good for protecting your Lightsworn monsters from card effects that would wipe the field with them and thus stop your milling process, which is very important for a Lightsworn deck. That's why Effect Veiler is good in this deck. Aaron Lightsworn Monk. I only have 1 of these in the deck because I don't find them is super useful. They're good for getting rid of high defense monsters that are proving troublesome. But overall, you can generally get high attack monsters on the field that would take care of that anyway. Gareth the Lightsworn Warrior. Each time a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by the effect of a Lightsworn monster you control, except Gareth Lightsworn Warrior, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then draw 1 card for each Lightsworn monster sent to the graveyard by this effect. So he's good for card draw. Gorz the Emissary of Darkness. He's good if you're behind, and also because you need to have some dark monsters in the graveyard to be able to summon the Chaos Sorcerer. But he's in general, he's just a really good card to have in a lot of decks where it's very aggressive and you're probably going to be taking damage, and probably high damage, because this is the kind of deck where you need to set up a combo, and sometimes when you're setting up combos you can sustain a lot of damage. Honest, pretty much a staple in any deck that revolves around mostly light monsters. Jane, Lightsworn Paladin, gets 300 attack boost during the damage step only if it's attacking opponent's monster. And as with most Lightsworn cards, you get to send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Sometimes they're not 2 cards, sometimes they're 3, or in Judgment Dragon's case 4. But to special summon Judgment Dragon, you have to have 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. You can't special summon it any other way. His effect allows you to pay 1,000 life points to destroy all other cards on the field. So this is super good at just wiping the board of everything that could stop you. Lumina Lightsworn Summoner. Once per turn you can discard 1 card, then target 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target. So it's really good for allowing you to be selective with which monsters you want, and also to refresh your hand and kind of, you know, get the cards that might not be so important to you right now out of there. Lila Lightsworn Sorceress. This is a good removal card. It allows you to get rid of 1 spell or trap card that your opponent controls. It does kind of have a downside, however, that you will be switched from attack position to defense position when that happens. Max C. This is good for online play, especially because most decks will focus around special summonings. That's how decks are successful most of the time, and this kind of discourages your opponent to special summon, or it allows you to get a benefit from whenever they do special summon, allowing you to draw a card every time they do. Necrogardna. This is good because it's another dark monster to have in your graveyard, and he serves a double function for being in your graveyard. You can banish him from your graveyard to negate your opponent's next attack, so it's really useful that way. Raikou Lightsworn Hunter, really great removal card in a lot of decks, really, not even just limited to a Lightsworn deck. He's just really good removal. Wolf Lightsworn Beast cannot be normal summoned or set when this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard. Special summon it. An easy way to get around, if you drew him and you can't summon him, you can just get rid of him with Monster Reincarnation and get something better. Book of Moon, it's a good defensive card. I don't want to do like the same staple cards in each deck. Try to mix it up a little bit. Charge of the Light Brigade. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Add 1 level 4 Lightsworn monster from your deck to your hand. Pretty straightforward there. Dark Hole, also pretty straightforward. Foolish Burial is really good for putting Wolf in your graveyard from your deck, and then you can summon them right to the field. It just has a variety of uses in a Lightsworn deck. Monster Reincarnation, you saw probably the best use of it that you're going to get in the deck. It's so incredibly good in this deck. Mystical Space Typhoon, pretty staple. Solar Recharge, discard 1 Lightsworn monster, draw 2 cards, and send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, so it's good for getting through your deck and also drawing cards. But that's going to be it, guys, for this video. If I had any notes to make, it would be to refine the deck to your style. You might want to put more cards in it. Also, you could be putting in some XYZ level 3, level 4 monsters, and you could find success with that too. But as for that, I'm going to be going now. Make sure you tune in to my live stream that I'm having later today, and I'll see you next time.